So what we're going to do is Jyotidana and I are going to explore the subject of altruism. If you remember the four aims of Jayaratna, and one of those is altruism. What was the one we did last month?
Awakening.
Awakening, thank you. It's not a test, it's just right. So we did awakening last month, and we thought, what do we want to talk about? And we thought altruism might be a good one. So we're going to talk about altruism. We don't know how long for, and then there'll be an opportunity to ask questions or to make comments before the tea break. So there'll be no breakout rooms this evening. So those of you who are on Zoom, in the tea break, which will be about 8:35 to 8:55, will be an opportunity for you to have a group to yourselves. I don't know how many of you, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 of you, so you can have a little chat amongst yourselves for 20 minutes, or go and make tea, and then there will be announcements, and then we'll finish off with a meditation and the last Vandana, as usual. So that's what we're going to do.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
Altruistic intention, great.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah, good.
Who's going to start?
Well, I don't know.
I looked up altruism because I wasn't absolutely sure what the definition of it was, and it's unselfish concern for the welfare of others. That's what the dictionary said. But I think it's a bit more than that.
It is.
Yeah.
So I've written a few bits. I haven't written much. I thought I'd bring lots of paper because it looks like I've written lots, but there's nothing on the actual paper. So, but it looks, shuffle it a bit. It's just that. But yes, we're on the same track because yes, in a way, I was thinking that altruism is charitable, benevolent, kind, and it's not out for gain. It's not out for fame. So when we do things, they just sort of naturally flow. We're not sort of thinking, oh, but I didn't get thanked for that, or oh, I'm going to be so liked now because I brought that big cake into the centre, or because it's a slippery one. There is that little thing going on sometimes, or if we open a door and we don't get thanked, it's like they didn't thank me. So in a way, altruism's the opposite of that. It is just opening the door and allowing someone to go through and not sort of thinking any more of it. It's not like, look at me, I opened the door. Because it's sort of ego clinging, isn't it? So that's what I've been thinking of, is sort of the times when it's sort of the most beautiful in a way, is when it's just like natural. It's just a natural flow of sort of helping others, supporting others, the world, our environment, but without sort of wanting gain or fame or sort of reputation. It just flows.
Yeah, and I was thinking that's at times I'm not quite sure whether I'm being altruistic or not. That there's often a mixture of motivations. So some of it may be altruistic. I may be wishing the well-being of another person or other people, but at the same time there's that, oh, aren't they going to think I'm nice? And those two bits are mixed up in there, and I think I can quite easily get caught up in trying to separate out the threads of what's skillful and what's not quite so skillful, and I'm just wondering if that's very useful really, or whether I'd just be better off acting what I think is altruistically and just leaving it at that.
Yeah, there's something in wanting recognition sometimes, I think. And I like to think I don't do that. I like to think I'm not that sort of person. I'm just acting with a good heart, good intention. But there is a little bit of me that wants some kind of recognition. And feels quite a shame to say that. It's like, oh my goodness. But I think it does happen. I think we sort of expect at least people to sort of think, oh, she's a nice person. And then I think, well, what's my intention for doing it? But I do think there's a lot of, there is a lot of flowing from us all when we just act without thinking in a beneficial way for others, without expecting gain. And that's so beautiful in a way. I think it's really important. I think I was reading Know Your Mind by Sangha, and he was talking about that thoughts are not enough either. So we do our metta bhavana practice, and we sort of say, may others be well, may others be happy, may others be free from the cause of suffering. And I kind of really mean that. But unless it flows out into action, it's just sort of psychologically sort of stuck up here. This sort of, oh, I hope you all go well tonight, you know. But if I see you stuck in a ditch down the road in your car, I'll just drive past because I want to get home. So, it isn't that, is it? It's something about acting out your inner sort of internal intentions, I think. I hope you pick me up if I'm stuck in the car in the ditch, and not just wish me well as you go past.
May she be well and happy.
Yeah. Waving as you go.
Yeah.
Because you can get into that, can't you? That sort of, it's sort of in our heads, that kind intention.
Yes.
But
theoretical altruism.
Yes. Yeah. So I jotted down a bit more, and I put about service as well. I was thinking, to serve others, it almost sounds a bit slushy and a bit sentimental. It's like, oh, I'm serving you, and a bit sort of undermining myself, a bit over humble. But there's something about being in service to the world and to others, and to corruption and things like that, being aware of everything that's going around us and trying to be of service in a beneficial way. So it's beneficial activity. And I think there's something important about that, really, just being aware of everything, and just sort of offering where we can, with a kindness and a good heart.
Yeah, I was thinking on the way here tonight about receptivity, about the need for receptivity if I'm going to develop any degree of altruism. That I have to be aware of other people and see how they are, without getting caught up in, well, what can I do for them? It's more about their needs than my needs to be altruistic. Yeah.
So there's a wisdom aspect.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, there's a clear seeing, the need to see clearly what someone else's need is as an individual, without, in some ways, rationing my altruism. Well, I'm prepared to do this, but I'm not prepared to do that. Yeah. So altruism is it's the heart's response to another person. I mean, I don't think unselfish concern, which is how I described it, I don't think that really, for me, brings in the heart aspect of altruism enough. That, in fact, that's what you're doing. When you talked about the metta bhavana there, this is about the heart's activity, not about the head's activity so much. Yeah.
And sometimes I think in the past I've thought about doing good deeds or thought about supporting others, and then for some reason I don't follow that through. And I think that's quite common. And I don't know why. Like I think, I might go and take the neighbour a hot meal. And then I kind of think, perhaps I won't. And I wonder what that is that holds us back from being kind and generous and supportive. And I think for me sometimes it's fear, of sort of feeling like it's giving the not wanted, like, hello, it's me again, I brought you a hot meal. So in a way there's some sort of checking out as well, wisdom, that we're not just somebody who just goes and helps everybody when they don't want it. It's like taking someone across the road when they don't want to go, but you're a good do-gooder, so it's like, no, come on, I'll take you across the road, and they're sort of like, no, I don't want to go. And there's something in that as well, isn't there, to have some kind of wisdom and knowledge of the support that you're giving, rather than just, I'm a good person and I'm just going to help you all today. And you know, there's something about that, isn't there, being kind of quite knowledgeable about your heart response, but not in a dry way.
Is there also something in there about being aware, being knowledgeable about how much you can be altruistic? Instead of thinking that you've always got to be giving. The phrase that just came in was, well, what about me? I have needs too, and each one of us has needs. And where do my needs come into this? And it's about finding that balance of my needs and other people's needs. And if I exhaust myself emotionally or physically, then I'm not going to be able to help anybody. And where is that line drawn? I'm not sure. And I guess it's different for all of us where we draw the line between helping ourselves and helping others, and knowing how much we can give. Yeah.
I think I kind of know when there's something flowing. It's like a cleaner energy. So sometimes somebody will just say, oh, you know, I'm really stuck with this. And it's just an instant, spontaneous sort of, I can help. And there's no sort of stickiness or sort of, oh, procrastination, or I could do it on a Sunday, but not. I can help, you know. It's like if I saw a drowning dog, you know, I'd just go and get it out. You know, there's no thought about yourself or sort of, oh, maybe I could try and get it out, or maybe I'll get someone else to get. You just help. And it's very clean, and there's a sort of unblocked energy and a sort of innocence in a way that comes with that. And then I know sometimes when I'm sort of helping and I really don't want to, you know, it's like, oh, crikey, you know, and it's Sunday morning as well, and I've got to do this and I don't really want to, and you just sort of get into that. And sometimes I can override that, but I just know the difference when there's this clean energy that's available to help others. And it feels very refreshing. And I think there's one thing I really want to say is that altruism or kind intention, it's joyful as well. Because I think sometimes people can just sort of think, oh, helping people, you know, being compassionate towards the world, saving animals, it's all a bit drudgery, you know, it's all a bit crikey, you know, what about me? But actually it's joyful as well. There's something about responding to others without wanting anything back. It's just clean, a clean exchange. And the bodhisattvas, it's always said that they're very playful. They just go around, you know, doing what they do, and they don't sort of even get seen. They're just doing what they do, and just sprinkling the joy and happiness everywhere. So it can be joyful as well. It's not sort of a miserable sort of, you know, suffering thing. Like I've got to help Jayaratna, or Jayaratna's got to help me. It's like, oh, it's actually quite pleasant.
Yeah.
Quite enjoyed it.
Yeah. And it's not transactional though, is it?
No.
It's not, well, I'll help you if you'll help me.
Exactly.
It is strictly non-transactional, so there's no idea of a contract in it, like there is in so much of our lives, that even in social interactions, there's very often an unspoken contract that I will do this for you if you will do that for me. But in altruism, there isn't that idea of there being this interaction. So it's and the other thing that I find is that, I don't know if you find this, sometimes I just don't know that I'm being altruistic. That it's quite unconscious, that you just don't know when you're having an effect. And I notice this particularly if you lead groups, if you lead classes, and you give talks, or you lead a study group, or just a breakout room, somebody might come up to you afterwards or a couple of weeks later and say, do you know when you said so and so and so, or when you did this, I felt you really gave me something, and I can't remember. Now, either they're mistaken, or it's just something that I did or said, which they felt they were being given. Something was freely given to them. And I wonder if altruism it's a bit like an emotional muscle. So we may grow the emotional muscle, we may not notice when we're exercising that muscle. But other people do. So I'm wondering if sometimes we need to bear that in mind. We need to actually perhaps begin to believe that. We may not... I don't think of myself as being very generous, very altruistic. I think sometimes I'm quite selfish. But sometimes I get feedback from people which doesn't agree with that. So I do wonder if altruism is sometimes quite well hidden from oneself.
Yeah, we don't know the impact we're having, do we, on others? And I think all of us here tonight and on Zoom, we've all experienced receiving something off somebody, however large or small, whether it be, a kind word or a gesture, and it's made a big difference to our lives. And the person who's done it would probably not know. Somebody might say something nice and you think, oh, that's really kind, and it's had an imprint on our lives.
Yes.
But that person may not know. They might just go about their everyday business. And we too are doing that all the time. We can either cause harm with what we do, our actions, what we say, or we can cause good fruit in a way, isn't it? Rather than bad fruit.
Yeah.
Like my banana in the bag.
Yes.
I brought tonight. Saying to Jayaratna, I said, I can smell albus oil tonight. I said, and I can also smell banana. And then I rooted through my bag and there's a rotten banana in the bottom of the bag. We didn't put it on the shrine, so that would not be... Maybe for Parinirvana Day. Something like that. Yeah. So I was thinking about, I'm quite visual, and I was thinking how altruism looks for me as well. And I quickly brought this little mouse that's always sits on Jayaratna's shoulder. And he's sort of, there he is. And it's just sort of little things for me that kind of have a sort of symbolism. And also I've got a yidam, a Buddhist figure, because I'm a Buddhist, so, that's kind of comes in hand. But little things like this, and little things... Jayaratna can hold that one. And so we turned into Sooty and Sleep's show now. But yeah, again, what sort of visually, or there may be a poem, or there might be something that you kind of feel that reminds you, that you have got a kind heart. We've all got a kind heart, and sometimes it's just a bit covered up. And also other people are kind within, limits. And sometimes we just forget that and what impact it has on everybody. And when I was little, I always talk about this lady in a sweet shop that put an extra sweet in my bag, and she always winked. I feel a bit scared now, but when I was sort of about 6, it was very like... And I felt like the most special girl in the world because this lady had popped an extra penny sweet in the bag. And it really made such an impact on me in a time where it was quite miserable for me. And I felt valued, I felt special, and I'm sure this lady isn't around now. This was years and years ago. But she didn't know that I'd be sitting here talking about her now. And I always use that as something that we just don't know. It could be something huge, or it could be just putting that extra sweet in a bag that could make a child grow up to feel more valued. So never underestimate the power of altruism. It really is, like this little mouse, quite small, but pretty powerful. Because as you know, mice can chew through electric cables. But, they look quite sweet and innocent as well. So altruism is sort of a whole sort of vibrant energy of, love, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And I was just wondering why it's given such prominence in Triratna. I've got no answer to that. Sorry, I've not. But I just wonder. I mean, it's something that's in a way quite ordinary. You know, we deal with the big issues, the mindfulness and wisdom and this, but altruism is nothing. Well, you could say nothing special, and yet it's given great weight. And I was wondering, you got any ideas about that? Why should we say that it's so important?
I think maybe for myself, I've been on the receiving end of positive, good energy from others and support. And I'm quite independent, so I don't really like a lot of sort of help, but just people just offering, the sweet in the bag. And I have also, like us all here, I'm sure, and online, we've been on the receiving end of things that aren't so good, aren't so pleasant. And we see things on the media that are distressing, vulnerable people being harmed. So that's why it is so important in a way that the more we spread sort of compassionate activity, it dilutes the sort of more harmful elements. That's my thoughts anyway.
Right.
What about you?
I was thinking of it in terms of Sangha building.
Right.
And in what way does altruism help in Sangha building? And it's something like what I was talking about a couple of weeks ago, which is reducing the effect of the hindrances. And the more we can reduce the hindrances, the healthier the Sangha will be. Because the more that we're likely to be able to access those factors of enlightenment which lead to awakening. So if we're talking about awakening, I was trying to link what we were talking about last month, which was awakening, with altruism. What was the link there for me? And it was about, well, okay, the way we awaken is to apparently develop the 7 factors of enlightenment. And what do we need to do that? We need to attend to the hindrances and try as much as we can to make sure that the hindrances aren't too active in our minds, in our hearts. So I was thinking altruism is quite... I was thinking, how could altruism help in that process? So it certainly helps with aversion, craving, ego, yeah. I was wondering how it affects doubt. You can tell I haven't thought very clearly about this, yeah? I've only got so far with it. But it's just... I don't know if you get this, that sometimes you get things that come up in your mind or come up in your heart. And it's like you can't quite grab hold of them. You can't quite grasp what it is you're trying to get at. But in some way, something is happening to one's understanding of an aspect of the Dharma. And I think this is one of them. This thinking about the hindrances and the factors of enlightenment and altruism, and in what way does altruism help to confront the hindrances in ourselves and in others. I suppose sloth and torpor, if you're actively seeking to be altruistic towards other people, then sloth and torpor are going to be slowly eroded, worn away. And there's always one hindrance I forget. Which one is it? We've done doubt. We've done
indecision. Sloth and torpor.
This is very embarrassing.
Come on, you get your first cup of tea if you guessed it. Restlessness, anxiety.
Thank you. Restlessness, And worry or restlessness and remorse. Yeah. Yes. So for me, that's about, if you're in the here and now, you're not worrying about what happened in the past, and you're not worrying about what might happen in the future. So it's like, you're right in front of me now, and you have a need, and I can help with that. And this is nothing to do with what I did yesterday or last week or last year. It's nothing to do with what I'm planning for next week or next month. This is just here and now. You have a need, I can help, and there's no hesitation. I will help. So I think that hindrance is addressed as well. Yeah, I think we've covered the 5 hindrances. We'll stop there. Just.
Thanks, Trish.
Yeah.
Of the 4 hindrances, it was going to be otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's something about, people say pay it forward, it's this new term, pay it forward, and there is something about living in a society or a community where there is a good sort of heart within it, rather than a sort of, we do our own thing, we don't stop for others, we've got our own money, it's this sort of separate society. And I think, I've experienced altruism, but just people stopping if my car's broken down. Just some random person has stopped, and it's just amazing, because sometimes I don't expect it, because we live in quite a hard, fast-paced world, and somebody will just stop and say, do you want some help? And it's just life-changing in that moment. And again, they're not after anything. It's just one person responding to another person. And there's almost like a magic in that. That exchange, and then you go about your separate ways and you never see them again. But I think, wow, it does sort of help us all when people are kind, and when we're kind. It sort of influences us to be kind, and not sort of hard, separate shells. So it's sort of, it's infectious, I think, as well. The offering of kindness is an infection of joy rather than misery. So
do you think that is cumulative, that builds up within a Sangha, that altruism is shared around and builds and builds? Do you think there's a danger of us taking it for granted, that people will be kind, that people will be altruistic? Or do you think not?
I don't tend to. Well, it depends what it is. Maybe if it's under the radar. Maybe if it's something sort of, I can take for granted some things, like somebody making me a cup of tea, and I can just say, oh, cheers, but I don't really think that they've made an effort. It's just like, they've made me a cup of tea. But I do appreciate things, and I think practicing the Dharma has helped me to really do that. And I mean, even tonight being here, we have people that have turned up to do the shrine, which is very beautiful. We've turned up, we've turned up tonight. You've turned up. Jamie's doing the tech, and we're sort of on Zoom, and we've all sort of come here, and we've all made a difference. And in a way, I don't take that for granted. Somebody's going to make the tea soon, and so actually, it's very sort of nourishing and feels very sort of beautiful that we all contribute to it. So it's not sort of just my altruism or Jayaratna's altruism. It's sort of, we've got it in the room, actually. We've got it in the room, which is, you can feel it sometime if you're receptive enough. That sort of energy of sort of kindness and generosity and giving without wanting anything back. Oh, you don't want anything for tonight, do you?
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea. Oh, there you go. He's blown the altruistic intention. And a biscuit.
And a biscuit. Yes. Yeah. If there's no biscuits, yes.
You're
altruism. Yeah. Yeah. I was talking about taking it for granted, and there's something about not exactly taking it for granted, but expecting that this is going to be how things are here. And I don't think I appreciate it as much as I could, unless I spend a lot of time out in other circumstances. And then I've got something to contrast it with and compare it with. And listening to people who come into the centre, perhaps for the first time, or they come in for a beginner's class or something, and hearing their response to it. That they may not be able to prove it, but they feel that there is something different. And I think that one of the things they feel is altruism. One of the things they feel is that they are being given something. They're actually being given something that's incredibly valuable, precious, jewel-like. And, all right, they're not standing at the door with a hand out expecting money. They're saying, well, there's a bowl there. If you want to put some money in it, fine. If you haven't got any money, then you can't put any in. But so it's not a transaction. It's something that's freely given. So it's what they call the Dharma Economy. Yeah, and there's something very unusual about that. The idea that we don't employ anybody here. Nobody is paid. I mean, that may change if we get bigger, but at the moment, it's all altruism. And I think as order members, we accept that that's part of the deal, really. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's just what I do. You know, yeah. I'm a Buddhist practitioner, and it's radically changed my life. And so, therefore, I just want to pass that on.
Yes.
And that's enough in a way. In a way, I feel rewarded enough to be able to pass it on. And we're all doing that in our own way. It's like a light, you know, we're just passing the candle around. And that's sort of reward enough for me in a way. And sometimes, you know, I really feel energetic and in vigour and I want to come and do it. And other times I don't. You know, I'm sort of walking along, or I might think, oh, we've got study tonight. But I always love it once I'm there. Because, again, I have light from other people as well. You know, I receive light as well as give light. So that's sort of a mutual exchange in a way, without money, without sort of capitalism, without sort of, you know, reputation. I'm a good person, I've showed up. There's just something a bit more sort of organic as well, isn't there? Not sort of staged or fixed. And it softens myself. You know, because I think we are all kind beings, and we've all got a selfish side as well. And I think when that sort of melts more and more, I just feel more able to give. You know, I haven't got this sort of concrete sort of self-preserving side to me. It's just like, well, actually, I'm more open and able to give. But I haven't got it in the bag yet. And it's important to say that, isn't it? Because otherwise people will be, well, I'll be getting phone calls tonight, you know, can you lend me a £5? But no, I mean, it's something that we are always aspiring towards. And sometimes I find that very natural, and as you say, it goes unnoticed when someone says thank you, and I think, wow, you know, what for? And other times, there is a sort of, I have to sort of be a bit more aware when I start to get a bit in my shell. Yeah, I agree. Yes. So awareness is important as well, isn't it? Awareness of how we're feeling and how we're behaving and speaking and even thinking. That we're able to respond with altruism when the situation presents itself. Yeah. Or making amends when we can't. You know, if we have a day when we've just had some really bad news and something's awful's happened and someone says, could you just help me with this? And you're like, not at this moment. You know, the great thing is that you can go back later on and say, I'm so sorry. You know, I was in a bit of a bad mood. I just lost something, blah, blah, blah. And that's really important as well. We don't have to be superheroes either. Because you can sort of see it as this big thing, this altruistic sort of way of being, and you think, wow, it's such a tall order. And so sometimes it's good to just sort of be aware that you're not always going to have that sort of availability. But as you practice and practice and practice, I would definitely say mine has increased from this sort of, mean sort of figure. No, I can't help you. No, get your own drink. To suddenly thinking, oh, come on then, I'll make you a drink. So, it's worth being very aware of how you develop as well, and how your life's changing with the Dharma. And if it's not changing, then why are you practicing? If you're not changing and developing and growing and changing your shape, then why are you practicing the Dharma? So that's worth thinking about sometimes. Why are you practicing the Dharma? Why are you practicing the Dharma?
I wish you hadn't asked. Why am I practicing? Well, it's habit. That's partly it. That's not a terribly good reason.
It's a good habit, though.
It's a good habit. Yes, it could be worse. Yep. So yeah, I'm practicing because it's a habit. I'm also practicing because I think there's further to go. There's always further to go.
Yeah.
Not just with altruism, but with everything. With knowledge, with wisdom, with clarity. And the other reason, of course, is that the forces of chaos are always there to pull me back to where I was last week, last year, or whatever, if I don't practice.
Yes.
Because if I'm not going up, I'm going down. And I think that's doesn't sound very altruistic, does it? Sounds quite... No, it's not quite selfish, because to the extent that I'm reasonably positive, to that extent I'm capable of being altruistic, because I'm more likely to see somebody's need. And I'm more likely to see my own need too.
Yes.
And to be able to balance those two. Yeah. I'm aware it's nearly 8:15.
It
and
is.
I'm wondering, have you got anything else to add to that?
I think we've covered a bit, haven't we? I'm sure there'll be a part 2 at some point. We'll be going on tour. We just need to brush our act up a bit. It's for 2023.
Yeah. The singing and dancing could do with a bit of buffing. Okay.
Yes, but I think, it's good to explore things, and with others and with our own selves. Because sometimes, as you say, we can just take things for granted. Think, So it's, keep exploring. Keep the Dharma alive. Keep altruism alive. Get a t-shirt. Make it trendy again. Rock and roll.
Yeah.
On that note.
Sounds a good place to stop.
It does.
Great.